Funding to rebuild roads washed away by flooding is the topic as lawmakers in Frankfort convene. And there is a new director of Pikeville's 911 Center.
And a lot up in the air with our storm complex moving through right now. I'm tracking the very latest, including where destructive winds could be coming up as First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
We continue to keep an eye on some strong to severe storms moving across our northern counties. Warnings continue to be issued. Let's get the very latest now from meteorologist Evan Hatter. Evan.
Steve, that's right. We just got a couple new warnings in, an update to a previous one with the potential for 70-mile-per-hour winds moving through parts of Lee and Breathitt counties in Kentucky. Let's go right to First Alert Pinpoint Doppler first, showing you 3 counties under a severe thunderstorm watch right now: Wayne, Pulaski, and McCreary, right along Lake Cumberland until 9 o'clock. But the threat so far today has been well north of that, just south of the Mountain Parkway corridor. We've been watching this thunderstorm, very strong thunderstorm, now on top of St. Helens, moving past Beattyville. This is headed toward downtown Jackson over the next little bit. In fact, here's what the velocity is showing. Now, normally we show this product when there's rotation. There's no rotation here, but the potential there for winds upwards of 70 miles per hour making it to the ground. So if you're in places like War Creek over the next 10 minutes, Lawson, El Catawba, Wolverine, and yes, in the next 15 minutes over to Jackson, go ahead and seek shelter. This has the potential to produce winds upwards of 70 miles per hour. In fact, let's reset that track and we'll show you where this is headed over the next little bit. This is moving to the east at approximately 50 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and track this off to the east. There's our newest warning. Let's take it out 45 minutes. Boonville basically now. Campton in the next few minutes. Shoulder Blade by 4:47. Jackson by about 4:45, 4:50. Haddocks 4:57. And on over into Salyersville by 5:12 at this point. New warning just came down. This for 70-mile-per-hour winds for Breathitt, Lee, Owsley, and Wolfe counties. You also see just off to the east a new severe thunderstorm warning. And let's clear the track. This one takes in mostly basically central Johnson County. That runs until 5 o'clock. That storm has the potential to produce 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's popped up ahead of the line, so things remain active here in the Weather Center. I'll break down everything yet again here in a few minutes, Steve.
All right, Evan, thank you. Almost 1 year after devastating and deadly floods, local and state officials say there remains a lot of work to be done. Some roads and bridges in the region still need fixed. WIMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what was discussed today at the state capitol.
The flooding resulted in a lot of people going into eastern Kentucky to do all kinds of work. And today, the state transportation secretary spoke to lawmakers about the work that was done. He says there's been a lot of progress made, but he says a lot more work needs to be done. There were 1,100 bridges inspected within a week of the flood happening in eastern Kentucky. Transportation Secretary Jim Gray told lawmakers of how workers went above and beyond to inspect them and rebuild and restore some of the washed out and destroyed areas. Lawmakers were told of 115 restoration jobs and 34 were deemed critical. Assistant State Highway Engineer John Moore says 81 have been completed.
And there's only 12 left that have not yet gone to contract, and those we're actively working to get those to contract as quickly as we can.
Your all's folks shined up there in what I seen, and I was around them every day. They were working countless hours. They were getting the job done, and I'm thankful for all the work that you did, that you've been there with us even today.
Kentucky lawmakers did meet in a special session. They allocated about $200 million for the flood relief and cleanup. But just to put that into perspective, just to rid the area of all the debris, that also cost about $200 million. However, state leaders today said that most of that is going to be reimbursed by FEMA and other agencies. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
All right, Phil, thanks. State leaders say of the 12 bridges that have not been completed, they hope to have them all finished by the end of this year. Pikeville has a new 911 dispatch director. Cody Williams moved into the leadership position at the 911 Center after a vote by the Pikeville City Commission. Williams worked at Pikeville 911 Dispatch for the past 8 years before becoming the new director following the retirement of Paul Maynard. Williams says although the training dispatchers receive does prepare them, They are learning new things each day.
Our training that we receive in the academy, that prepares us a lot for that. But, you know, preservation of life is always going to be top priority. So like I said, if somebody's having a heart attack or if there's a very bad car wreck with injuries, you know, that's going to get our attention first, and that's going to get, you know, everything thrown at it that we can.
Williams says his experience being a dispatcher prepared him to switch over to the administrative side of things. One organization in Clay County is doing its part when it comes to helping less fortunate kids. Sleep in Heavenly Peace builds brand new beds for kids ages 3 to 17 with donations by a group of volunteers. Clay County Chapter President Roy Rice says he's seen the need for such services in the county.
So we knew that there was a lot of families that couldn't afford a bed because we hear there are kids sleeping on the floor, you know, in different places. And so we decided that we'd do this project.
Rice says the organization has different chapters across the country. He says he hopes to see more counties in the region create chapters to help even more kids. This week, Russia and its allies are taking steps to drive up food and gas prices around the world. Amy Kiley tells us how.
I hope that every country is watching this.
Events happening overseas could be a blow to American wallets.
Today's decision by the Russian Federation will strike a blow to people in need everywhere.
Moscow says it will no longer allow Ukraine to safely export grain. Ukraine usually accounts for 10% of the world's wheat exports. The price has already ticked up in global markets.
I think it'll drive inflation higher, particularly in those very volatile food and energy categories.
Meanwhile, AAA says within the past 2 weeks, gas prices have been edging higher. That's as Saudi Arabia makes good on its plan to reduce oil production this summer. And now Iran is adding another complication.
It threatens U.S. and global interests quite a bit.
The Pentagon is taking action to defend merchant ships in this critical strait. It says Iran has been harassing and even attacking them.
Particularly oil. So much of that flows through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a choke point for the Middle East that has global trade implications.
And when the cost of food and gas go up, it prompts the Federal Reserve to intervene. It's signaling it will raise interest rates again this month and probably next month, too.
I think the Fed's quite a long way, actually, away from declaring victory on inflation.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Police in Michigan respond to an alarming call about a man with a gun who was having a mental health crisis. When officers in the town of Warren got there, they found a teen crying, shaking, holding that gun to his own head. As Sean Lay reports, the officers focused on the teen in crisis, not what was in his hand.
I'm 17. You're 17? Okay, what are we doing here today?
Hey,
I just want to die. I don't want you to die.
the police body camera worn by Warren Police Officer Chad Rosso, the camera letting you see everything that he can see, and you can hear everything the officer is saying to a teen with a handgun who says he wants to die. Instead of focusing on the gun, Officer Rosso focuses on the person, clearly in crisis.
Let me help you. Can I help you? I'm not here to hurt you.
I started talking to him about his family. I started talking to him about the people that would be directly affected by him committing this act.
The teen tells the officers he was released too soon from a mental health care facility. Officer Rosso and his partner, Officer Charles Cobble, tell the teen they will personally get him the help he is in need of if he drops the gun. You can hear the gun hit the pavement.
Stop. Hold on. Turn around. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. Hey.
That teen, you can see, is relieved. He breaks down. Someone is finally listening to him.
When he put that weapon down, I was so relieved. You know, I probably wanted to cry like he did.
He was actually a really nice individual, and we put him into handcuffs. He was just upset. You know, he was going through a crisis, and we recognized that, and we acted appropriately.
That was Sean Lay reporting, who actually reported for WYMT back in the late 1980s. The teen was taken to a healthcare facility. When he got there, his father was there to embrace him and thank officers Rossall and Cobble. In North Dakota, there is a company that is creating signs and vehicle wraps in support of one of their local police departments. The owner of that company says he got the idea following an officer-involved shooting 4 days ago in which one of their local officers was killed and 2 were left in critical condition.
It's just a tough time right now, and we just need to show the police department that we're behind them. We show them our support and show them how much they mean to our community.
Managers at Superior Customs say within the first 24 hours into the project, about 175 decals had already been sold. Many places in the southwestern United States continue to swelter with temperatures above 100 degrees. Arizona climatologist Erin Ann Saffel says historic temperatures in Phoenix average 110 degrees or hotter for 5 days usually during the summer.
So it gets really, really hot underneath that ridge of high pressure or that heat dome. And there's a circulation around that high pressure. It moves in a clockwise manner. And what that can do is it pulls moisture into Arizona from the Sea of Cortez or the Gulf of Mexico.
As I was saying, temperatures there have been at or above 110 degrees now for 22 days and counting. Now, Saffel expects Arizona to break their 18-day streak of intense heat either today or tomorrow. Coming up on First at